This is Pittsburgh Today with your hosts, John Wade and Patrice King Brown.
Well, thank you, folks, and welcome to Pittsburgh Today. This afternoon, we are going to be talking about passages of couplehood.
Where are they going?
Well, I think all our relationships go somewhere. Yes,
ever changing, I guess.
And we are going to be talking about three major phases in relationships.
Fonda. Do you hear steam?
Salada. Who we are is what we are. And that's Salada tea.
Come on, I'm first.
Hey, I've got a date.
Me too, but there's so many shampoos in here, there's no room for anybody.
Hey, that's mine for silky hair. That's mine for shiny hair.
And mine for bouncy hair.
All we need is this shampoo for healthy-looking hair.
Dimension?
Silky, shiny, bouncy, all come from healthy-looking hair. And that's what Dimension gives you.
Wayne's here.
New Dimension Shampoo. It's all you need for beautiful, healthy-looking hair.
Wayne who?
Save now during Spa Lady's 75% off sale. That's right. Join now and take 75% off your enrollment fee. Join the Pittsburgh area's most complete spa and fitness center for women for as little as $5. Spa Lady's 75% off sale is going on now. But this is a limited offer, so hurry.
Spa Lady, you're looking good.
So you've fallen in love. And at this point in your relationship, the two of you are trying to do most things together, spend as much time as you possibly can, but probably even in the back of your minds, you know that there will be some changes in this relationship. It will not always be as it is. And that is what we are going to be discussing this afternoon, the passages of couplehood. We are going to do that with family therapist, Dr. Barbara Hollander. A nice welcome for our guest, please. Barbara, welcome back to Pittsburgh Today.
Thank you, Patrice. It's nice to be here.
I think when we think about our relationships, and one of the happiest phases or the happiest memories in most of our minds is the beginning of a relationship. You know, we always say there's nothing like young love, new romance. It gives you such a high and an exhilarating feeling. But it does change, and I understand in studies that there are reasons for its changing.
Right, right. Dr. Jim Maloney and I have been working with Parent and Child Guidance Center to look at what those stages of a relationship seem to be. And this is really something that is developmental, and I'm not here to say that this is the way it is. We're experimenting with it, and it's in embryonic stages. But what we're seeing so far is that there seem to be three passages, three phases. They're not linear. People don't march through them. We might get into one phase and flip back to another. Seems that in the beginning, as you were saying, all is rosy. And the first phase of the relationship is characterized by a coming together, a fusing. And what happens in that phase is that each member of the couple tries very hard to obliterate all negatives. We don't see anything wrong with our prospective spouse or mate. And we see all of the positives. All of those romantic notions that we've heard about through our childhood seem to be that dream come through, and we're looking to this as a panacea, and also as a way to fill all of those emotional voids that may not have been filled for us during childhood. So that's phase one, and it can be pretty rosy. Then what seems to happen is that people get a little bit crowded by the constant effort to be together. And phase two begins, which is an emotional distancing, and a way for each member of the couple to find a way to be an individual, to live separately, essentially, within the relationship. That's the most difficult phase.
I would imagine. I would also imagine that would be the longest phase.
I think from what we're seeing, it is the longest phase. Some people never really get out of that phase into what would be phase three. In phase two, what happens is instead of seeing all the positives, we see all the negatives. We tend to blame the other partner for all the problems in the relationship. We do not take responsibility for the issues in the relationship on ourselves. And what happens in phase 2 is that our expectations are dashed. And we feel rejected and disappointed. And again, rather than look to self for some of those reasons, we tend to blame the other. If couples get through phase 2 to phase 3, what they can experience is almost a new marriage. A wonderful sense of intimacy, an ability to live side by side as individuals and still be very connected. So underlying this whole thing, if you imagine a line going from togetherness to separateness, that's what it's all about, and getting those things balanced so that we can live together and yet still be separate individuals.
Now, how can this information be used and I can see how it could be used as a therapist for you and for Dr. Maloney as well. But I wonder, in my relationship or in relationships of our viewers, how would we use that kind of information? Is it just the knowledge helps us to identify that there are problems, but it can change for the better?
I think that one of the things that helps is to understand that any relationship is not static, it's a process. It's constantly changing. For those folks who were in the first workshops that they did, the feedback that we got was, wow, if we had heard this, we would have known that it was natural, that it's to be expected. And therefore, the pain is somewhat subdued because people don't feel quite as alone with it. I think that it offers a certain degree of predictability. And if we can predict and plan, we're not quite as anxious, not quite as surprised.
Okay, now is there a possibility of determining the length of time that some of these phases may take? My feeling is, of course, that the very beginning phase is rather, in terms of a life, it's a very short period of time.
Right. I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
Oh, you knew it was coming.
I don't think that we can put a length of time generally as yet. I think you're absolutely right that the first phase is the shortest. The second phase seems to be the longest. May seem to be the longest because it's the most tumultuous also. And the third phase, I don't know what to say about that one. I guess it certainly can equal the second phase in length. I've heard various theories on this. Some say that the first 7 years of a marriage are really devoted to phase 1. That the next 10 years of a marriage are devoted to phase 2, and so on. But I really haven't been able to quantify it.
Okay, and it also would change with each individual couple.
That's exactly right.
That would make a difference.
That's exactly right.
Why did the study even begin? Why did you even decide to look into it?
Well, Jim Maloney and I were sitting around talking one day about our own observations of couples that we had worked with and what seems to be happening with them, and our observations of our own experience in marriages and our social relationships, and there seemed to be a thread. And so we put the threads together and came up with this idea, which, by the way, it turns out is a refinement of some other people's observations also. So it's not as if we're the first ones to come up with it. And we started talking about it with people, and it seemed to ring true. It seemed to be something that people would click onto and say, oh, right, that's what's happened to me. I didn't know what happened to me. That's what's happened to me. So that's how it happened.
That's the beginnings of it. When you look at phase 2, because we have talked that probably is the longest, or at least the most difficult periods to go through. Do you think that people knowing that there's a possibility that these things can turn around, that this is a normal adjustment in a relationship, can give us the incentive to hang in there a little longer instead of just saying, well, this is not working and I'm walking out? I mean, our divorce rate is ridiculous in this country.
Right. I would like to believe that. I do believe that if we can predict and plan, we can manage ourselves better. The big question is, and the one you're alluding to, what makes it possible for some to make it through phase 2 and why don't some people make it through phase 2? And there are some variables that seem to be factors, and those are related to, first of all, if a couple has tremendous expectations regarding the relationship and is looking to the marriage to fill all the emotional needs that were never filled, and then they find, or one partner finds, that those emotional needs are not getting filled, there's tremendous disappointment. And the degree of that hope of fulfilling that emotional needs seems to be related to the degree of disappointment. And that seems to be a real tough one for a lot of people to handle. The ability of each member of the couple to maintain a support system outside the marriage seems to help a lot. And then the real glue of the marriage, the core values, the commitment, the willingness to struggle, that seems to be a big factor too.
In it as well. Well, there are some workshops that you mentioned, one that has happened a little earlier, and there is another one coming up in May. And I wanted to let you know that Drs. Hollander and Maloney will be conducting the Passages of Couplehood workshops to help couples explore and understand their relationships. And the seminars will be taking place at the Parent and Child Guidance Center in Castle Shannon on Saturday, May 5th. And that is from 10 until noon, so it's just a few hours that give you an opportunity to together to work out the problems that you may be encountering, or at least get a handle on what's going on. If you have questions about that, would like more information about how to participate, call 343-7166. That is at the Parent and Child Guidance Center, and they can give you more information. We want to thank you, Dr. Hollander, for joining us.
Thank you.
And keep us posted as the research goes on and the things develop, and let us know how, because this information is always important to all of us, I think, in our relationships. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to do that.
Okay. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break and come back and visit with Shirlee Fonda. We'll be right back.
Here's Andrew Duggan with a rare opportunity for people aged 50 to 74.
How many times have we all wished we could turn back the clock, get a second chance? Take buying life insurance, for example. Wouldn't it be nice to be 25 again and pay a fraction of the cost you and I do and be guaranteed term life insurance? The kind experts say is your best buy. Now, for just $5 a month, you can, because one life insurance company, National Home Life, doesn't believe you're 50 to 74 years old, but 50 to 74 years young. And for only $5 a month, you can be guaranteed acceptance in this brand new life insurance program. Guaranteed means without a physical examination, without answering difficult health questions. In a word, you cannot be turned down if you're 50 to 74 years young. And remember this, your $5 a month actually buys you more protection than any other type of life insurance, because this is term life insurance. Solid, no-frills coverage without the complicated investment features to increase the cost. This is money that will be paid directly to your family when they need it most. National Home Life would like to send you a free information package detailing their remarkable $5 a month term life insurance program. And I frankly urge you to take advantage of the opportunity, because it isn't often people our age get a second chance when it comes to buying life insurance, and rarely term insurance for only $5 a month. Now, here's the number to call.
Call 1-800-445-4500 or write National Home Life, Department A, Valley Forge, PA 19493. Look for this flyer when your package arrives. You'll get an additional $1,000 or more of accidental death benefits by calling now, 1-800-445-4500.
Our guest this afternoon is a fascinating woman. She is someone who has worked as a television actress and model. She keeps herself busy. She stays fit through, I guess it's her stepdaughter's work. And she, of course, is the wife of the late Henry Fonda, someone whom we have all loved. And I would like you to give a nice welcome, please, to Shirlee Fonda. Shirlee, welcome to Pittsburgh.
Oh, thank you. I just love it. I just left Kaufmann's store, and I told all the brave people that came out When I came underneath, you know, I went through the tunnel to come into the city, and when I saw that city with all the lights, my heart jumped. It is so beautiful here, and I don't know where I've been all my life.
This is your
first time here.
Yeah.
I can't wait to come back.
Well, as a Californian, a lot of people have that feeling. They come through and they're thinking, oh, we're going to Pittsburgh, and then they come, and we're so pleased that they like it, because we're real proud of this
I just
town.
found out it's only an hour from New York, so when I go to New York and have some extra time, I'm coming here.
Good.
Anyway, here the shopping's wonderful.
Yeah, that's true. Now, you have been very active, of course, working with Jane Fonda in her books. You've modeled in several of her books. And this workshop and the workouts have really taken hold all across the country. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think number one, first of all, Jane only has workouts in Los Angeles. And I think the reason they are number one and they're so popular is because Jane herself stands for credibility. You know that Jane does the exercises. Also, the workouts, the 2 workouts in Los Angeles have the best teachers. They're the most fun. They know it, they teach it well. Plus, Jane and her one teacher has put together an exercise program where the sequences are good, the number of repetitions you do are good, and there are like 4 or 5 different classes that you can take, so there's a variation. There's something for everyone. And I think that's the reason Jane is as successful as she is.
In working in that. Now, you, of course, have been not only participating in that and the beautiful fashions that they are coming out with, because women want to look good when they're working out as well.
Absolutely.
You know, but you also had been married to Henry Fonda, who, of course, died almost, I guess it is about a year ago now. Huh?
Just over a year.
Just over a year. And spent the last 20 years of his life with him.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you would mind sharing with us, how did the 2 of you meet?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll just make it brief. We met through a mutual friend, Henry, and it's very strange because it had to do with the fashion world, and here I am, you know, with the workout wear. Henry had been voted best dressed actor, which was kind of a joke to Fonda because, you know, he's a cowboy, he was a man of the earth, you know, he never thought of himself as being best dressed, anything. And he really didn't want to accept that title, but it was important at the time because he had just done a lot of Broadway. He'd been away from movie making for 4 or 5 years. And when you're away, you know, you're forgotten. So they started giving out awards, and Henry would make appearances, and this was one of the awards. And the PR person that was in charge of this particular award asked me if I wouldn't go with him to dinner with Henry Fonda because he was a very shy man and didn't talk very much, and I certainly could talk, and he needed all the help he could get. So I said, well, of course, because I was dating someone else, not interested in anything other than, I mean, I'd love to meet Henry Fonda, and if, you know, if you feel that I can be of some help,
sure,
why not? Anyway, it was free dinner. So I went, and of course we met, and we just knew that it was something special between the 2 of us. We wanted to know one another better, and we saw one another from that moment on.
Yeah. Now, was there any, on your part, any feeling of intimidation because he was Henry Fonda? I mean, you know, you had to have seen him on the screen as the rest of us did for many, many years.
No, I wasn't really intimidated because he's not that kind of person. He's so warm and real. You know, he's just a human being like we are, and I mean, he's great, yes, and he's talented, yes, but he still has feelings, and he was just, I just felt I had known him. I mean, I knew him because of films, but I just felt like he was somebody I'd known for a long time, you know. And that's why I think one of the reasons he was so popular, he was like your man next door, your uncle, your brother, your father, your grandfather. I mean, he was all those people, and I really wasn't intimidated. As our romance grew, and then I became his wife, I sometimes was afraid that maybe I wouldn't always please him, you know, because he was such a perfectionist. And I always wanted to do the best I could do, and even probably do better than the best, because I didn't want to disappoint him. Sometimes that was hard.
How about just the association with the Fonda name? I mean, Jane and Peter and Henry, and then there was, of course, Amy. You became a stepmother when you married him.
Well, first of all, I love the name Fonda. I mean, I couldn't have gotten a better name because I love the name, and I never called Henry Henry. He was always Fonda because I love the name. As far as being a step-parent, I came in, Jane and Peter aren't that much younger than I am. Amy was only 8 years old, and it was a little more difficult with Amy because it was another stepmother. But I feel the reason we are such good friends today, and have always been such good friends, is because they knew that I truly loved Henry, and that he loved me and he was happy. And all they wanted, really, is for their father to be happy. And he was totally happy because not only did he tell them, but you can read about it in books, you can read it in interviews. And I know he was happy because I was happy. And I wouldn't have been happy if I felt that he wasn't happy with me. And he wouldn't have been happy if I weren't somebody that made him happy. So I feel that that's why I was accepted so readily into a Fonda family, because it's a difficult, hard to follow family.
Oh, sure.
And they're so talented and everything. I thought, me, what am, you know. But I was a wife, and I loved being a wife. And I was a housekeeper, and I loved that, and a companion, and a best friend. And I lost all that, which is one of the reasons I went into working with Jane in these clothes. And I wouldn't have done the clothes if I didn't really think they were the best. Because I knew that there was more to life when I went out to exercise than just a leotard and tights. I knew that there was something else. And Jane has come up with this complete line that I can wear into my exercise class and put something else on and wear it out and not worry about looking good, feeling good, or going anywhere. I mean, I'm dressed now. I have leotards underneath. I exercised this morning. I put this on to come and visit with you. I could go to lunch like this. I could go visit my dentist and go pick my children up from school, whatever I want to do. I just want something that I can be fast about, not worry how it's going to look. I want to make sure it's comfortable. It's going to absorb the perspiration, whatever, and it does all of it. Plus, it's cotton and it's washable. I mean, what more could you want, right?
That's right, unless it put itself on.
Right. Well, it almost does that because it's so wonderful. You want to put it on. And people say, why are you so enthusiastic? Because I really love all the pieces. I just came from the show at Kaufmann's with all these pieces. You want them all. I mean, all different lengths of skirts, shorts, sweatpants, sweatshirts, jackets, blouses. I mean, everything.
Everything's
leg
there for
warmers,
you.
belts. I mean, I never have to buy another thing.
Oh, yeah, and never will, huh? Okay, we're going to take a commercial break, Shirley. And when we come back, I'd like to talk a little bit about the kinds of things that you do to work out. I understand you get into hiking 5 miles and this so many other things, and why you do it and why you feel it's so good for you. We'll be back with Shirley Fonda in a moment on Pittsburgh Today.
You know, whenever we senior Americans get together, the subject of health care is sure to come up, and costs are skyrocketing. Now, friends, if you think Medicare is the answer, listen to this. Today, Medicare pays less than half of the average health care bill. Less than half. You're responsible for the rest. That means a stay in a hospital could cost thousands of dollars out of your own pocket. Let me ask you something. You know what a deductible is, or a co-payment? Well, that's the part of the bills you pay yourself. And they've been raised every single year since 1968. The deductible that started at $40 is now over $300. And you could pay that for 1 day in the hospital. Now, I know it's scary, but fortunately, I've got a great solution. So get pencil and paper for a very important phone number, and I'll tell you about it. This is the original Medicare insurance supplement from the National Senior Citizens Group Insurance Trust. I'm sold on it. Look, it pays cash direct to you, not to the doctor or the hospital, unless that's what you want. It pays regardless of any other coverage you have, including Medicare. And it guarantees to match your Medicare hospital increases dollar for dollar every time they go up. And best of all, if you're 65 or over, you can't be turned down for any reason. So get the Medicare insurance supplement that's already protecting thousands of senior Americans across the country. This information kit explains it all, and it's yours absolutely free when you dial our toll-free number. There is no obligation. The rates are reasonable because it's group coverage. So do yourself a favor. Call right now. You know, at this time of your life, you really deserve peace of mind.
Call toll-free 1-800-228-5400 or write Danny Thomas, Trevose, PA 19048. Operators are standing by now.
Our guest this afternoon is Shirley Fonda, and we are talking basically about staying fit and looking good. And we have talked a little bit, of course, with her about her relationship with the late Henry Fonda. And Shirley, we were just chatting a moment in the commercial break about the change, and what I think is a change for the better, that once you reach 35 years of age, that you don't have to start looking downhill, that people are staying fit. And you were saying you've put together a workout or things that you do for women over 40.
Well, first of all, I think we're on the right side of the hill, myself. I don't think there's anything over the hill. I think whatever the hill is, we're on the right side.
Okay.
When we approach whatever that age is. Jane has come out with a new book that'll be out at the end of this year, sometime around September, October, on women coming of age, which is geared for the woman from 35 and up. And it deals with problems, with situations that we will be facing when we become that age. Also, there's a new exercise program in there that is for women that really don't exercise that much, or who have never exercised but want to. So Jane has put together this wonderful new program that we can all do. So I'm excited about that book, and I happen to be the only model in that book, which is wonderful. But I don't want everyone to think that I'm small or skinny or little or whatever they think of me because I'm lucky. Partially maybe yes, genes yes, but I work out. I try to go to class at least 5 days a week. If I can't, I go at least 3, because you really shouldn't allow more than 2 days in between classes. I walk 5 miles a day. I really hike every single day that I can, because I find walking is so wonderful for you. It's wonderful for my mind. And I love to get out there and look at the beautiful trees and the plants and listen to the cars swishing by and see the dogs running around. I mean, I love it. It's life and it's movement. And I've said several times, and you know, life is movement, and movement is life. And if you want to live, you got to keep moving. And you're not going to keep moving, and you're not going to live well if you don't do something about your health. And your health is not only diet, but it's exercising. And we all know we're never going to get to an older age if we don't do something good to ourselves. And anyway, we deserve it. We deserve to take a few moments out of our busy, hectic life and treat ourselves. Have a little quiet time. You know, whether it's going to an exercise class or a dance class or swim or read a book or play with our children or get on the phone and talk to our best friend, whatever. Whatever takes us away from the stress, the anxiety, the strain of the day is what we need to do. Anyway, you know, if you do something good for yourself, you feel better about yourself, you go home as a nicer person. Your husband's going to like you more. Your wife will like you more. Your kids will say, hey, gee, Mom, keep doing that. You know, you go out and you buy yourself a leotard, you're motivated to exercise. It's like a baseball player. He puts on his uniform, he goes out and plays ball, right? He's ready. So, you know, just get yourself the motivation, then go out and do it.
Okay, we've got a phone call for you.
Oh, great.
On line 1, I believe. Line 1, you're on the air with Shirley Fonda.
Where do I go?
You can check. Here, line 1.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I can't believe I'm talking to Shirley Fonda. Actually, she's the second miracle. Yesterday I was watching TV and someone said you're going to see a miracle, and this is it. The first one was when Henry Fonda won his Academy Award, and I sent a letter to him. And I told him that my godfather resembled him, and that's the only reason why he was living. But he's very depressed. And could you, by any chance, Mr. Fonda, send him a note to perhaps encourage him? Here is a self-addressed envelope to Mr. George Domino. And it was like a dream. I thought, maybe it would happen, maybe it wouldn't. But the strangest thing happened. He sent a note, and not with my envelope, with his own stationery from Norman Thayer. And he wrote, Dear Mr. Stolano, I understand we resemble each other, but more importantly, we are loved by those who are closest to us. And that's the nicest thing you can ask for.
Oh, I remember that. I remember.
That's
and
great.
It was just so beautiful that you can't believe what happened in the meantime. My godfather was like a movie star. They had him in the old age home. Everybody was around him.
That's nice.
They were just so happy. And then we sent him a flower basket. And he accepted this. He sent us a picture. He sent me one, you know, to Stella Stratigus. He sent one to George.
So this all has really touched your life. And Shirley's being here today.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm so pleased you called, because I received some mail from your godfather not too long ago, and he didn't put the return address on there. So do me a favor and send it to this station, because I want to answer you again, and I want to thank you for calling. You're darling.
I have to say one thing.
Yes.
One thing very important. My godmother prays for you every day, Shirley Fonda, and your whole family. You're wonderful people. The warmth and the love that you exude on TV is understood and it's felt. May God bless you.
Thank you very much.
With good luck.
Thank you. You make me happy. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. That's really very nice. Very nice. We've got another call for you on line 6. Line 6, go ahead. Line 6?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead. Don't listen to
All
the
right.
television.
Okay. Mrs. Fonda, I just finished reading your husband's autobiography. And...
Don't listen to the television.
Okay. All right. And he made a statement in there. I thoroughly enjoyed the book, by the way, but he made a statement in there that I haven't understood, and I've been dying to ask you if you know about it. He was talking about the movie Spencer's Mountain, which I thoroughly enjoyed and watch every time it's on TV. He said that he had not enjoyed making that movie, and he felt that it had set movies back 20 years. Do you know the reason he felt that way about it?
He said that?
Yes.
I didn't read that. I can't imagine him saying that, but if he said that, I think I'll be mad at him. That wasn't nice.
Well,
I like that movie. I'll have to talk to him about that. That was a good movie.
Okay.
And a lot of other people loved that movie because it made a lot of money.
Yes, they certainly did.
But thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you for calling. Shirley, I'm wondering now, of course, I mean, to experience widowhood and the loss that you had experienced is very painful, is very difficult. And I'm wondering if you have advice for other people who are and will experience that kind of thing, because I mean, it seems in talking to me, there's so many things that have happened in your life that are positive, and you had such a wonderful relationship. How do you go through? How do you go on?
Well, I'll tell you the most important thing. Family and friends. If it happens to the woman, girlfriends. You need someone to talk to. You have to force yourself to talk. And the best people to talk to, usually, are your family and your friends. That's very important. Also, I mean, I know what I did. I couldn't help what I did. I sort of kept myself in the house, and I felt sorry for myself. I was so devastated. I felt that I failed because I managed for 13 hospital stays to keep Henry well. And I failed this time, and it was my only failure. I mean, I failed tests, sure, in school, but you know what I mean? It's the only time I ever really failed. And I punished myself, and I was angry. And I missed him so desperately that I thought there was nothing else out there for me. But finally, I don't know what makes it happen. I don't know whether it's the time. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But I found myself getting through the days. The nights were still devastating, and they still are. They're very lonely. It's dark out there. Everyone's asleep or doing what they have to do, and I'm alone. But I've got this now. So when I go to bed and close my eyes, I know that I can get up and get out there and maybe just reach someone, touch someone who hurts like I hurt, and make their life a little nicer and get me out of myself and into them.
And that's what we all have to learn to do. Yeah. I thank you this afternoon for joining us.
Thank you, Patrice.
And we wish you much success. And of course, Jane, and the things that have happened with her, and this fabulous line of fashions for us all to get out there and look great in.
Well, they're the best. I wouldn't be this ecstatic if I didn't feel they were the best. And I do.
And you do, and you believe it.
Really
Okay,
do.
well, thanks so much for coming in. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break and return and talk a little bit with Dr. Tim Murphy about children and hospital stays. We'll be back in a moment.
Dallas star Charlene Tilton, it was a bitter breakup, and this week's Star reveals the untold story, how religion gave her the strength to divorce the husband she still loves. Also in the Star, a new diet-a-day slimming plan.
You can lose weight and still eat cookies and candy and even pasta.
Plus, the Star reveals the shocking story of Tammy Wynette's battle with pills.
Take 5 minutes a day to get younger-looking eyes.
And anorexia killed Karen Carpenter, but this TV soap star beat it.
Find out where everyone finds out in the Star this week.
I've always been a curious person. I love being out there asking the questions.
Patty Burns, a lady who makes a big difference in Pittsburgh news.
If you really love your job, it's not work at all.
At KDKA TV, we think there's a whole lot more to the news than just talking to you from behind a desk.
Gee, Patrice, it looks like everybody's really having a good time.
They always do when they come down here, John.
We'd like you to join us.
Just call 392-2217 for reservations.
For American-made values.
Check us out.
Hills is proud to bring you American-made fashions like American Spirit, coordinated sportswear made in America for American men. A big selection of solid, striped, and plaid shirts and color-coordinated pants and belts. American style, American quality. At Hills, low prices every day. American Spirit, exclusively at Hills. No need to wait for a sale ever.
Check us out.
Laura, who drank all the Pepsi? And don't tell me it was some strange creature from another planet either, okay?
Yes, Mom.
Can anyone resist the sparkling taste of Pepsi? Anyone?
Take it easy on the Pepsi. Okay? I'm sorry.
Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Linda Evans' advice for your inner beauty. Toilet teaching for tots. Dr. Rosenfeld and more on Our Magazine.
Our Magazine, Wednesday at 4 on TV2.
Paul Martha's a Winner. Wednesday on Evening Magazine.
Well, we all dread a visit to the hospital. Even for adults, it's very difficult, so you can see how traumatic it would be for children. In fact, you might be able to recall a time when you were called to the hospital as a child. You're kind of fearful, even going to the doctor's office. So today we're going to talk with Dr. Tim Murphy, our child psychologist from Children's Hospital, and also with Melissa and Christopher McGee, because this is Children and Hospitals Week internationally, and we're going to see if we can dispel some of the myths and also maybe make that visit less fearful. And let's give Dr. Murphy and the young McGees a nice warm welcome. Good to see you. Actually, looks like a family portrait here. You look very good there. Good. How you doing?
Not mine.
Everything good? Now, of course, Melissa, you're 6 years old, right? And Chris, you're how old?
5.
5, okay. And you've been in the hospital how many times, Melissa? Once. What did you have? You recall? You don't recall? I think she had pneumonia, isn't that right? You were talking with her before. Pneumonia. And Chris, you've been in the hospital how many times?
Twice.
Twice, huh? Do you know what you had? I think you had, as I recall, a strep throat and some dehydration.
And in your arm, too.
See? Always the doctor, always knows. Now, of course, 5 and 6, most kids, except for birth time, if they're kind of lucky, they don't have to go back to the hospital for many, many years.
Right, and they usually don't
maybe
remember the birth
tonsils
too much either.
Pardon?
And they don't remember the birth too much.
No, that's right. The mother and the father do. Yeah. Now, is it typical, Dr. Murphy, for kids to be fearful? I mean, is that something built in, or do they kind of get that from adults?
Well, there's a lot of things about the hospital experience which is naturally going to be fearful for kids.
Yeah.
That idea that, of course, it's strangers, it's a new setting, and a lot of things, the way hospitals are set up, because they're working on routines, working on shifts, working on having to do other things rather than necessarily build up relationships.
So you're saying they can't give that personal attention?
Not necessarily. That's something that changed that we've seen in hospitals, certainly in the last couple of decades, last few decades, especially pediatric hospitals or hospitals with a pediatric setting, have tried to pay more attention to the child's needs, because that's a very important part of the healing process, the psychological components of it.
Oh, good. Do you remember, like when you went to the hospital, Melissa, was that a good time, or did you have a good time or a bad time?
Didn't like it very much.
You didn't like it very much, huh? Chris, did you like it or didn't like it? Didn't like it? Why didn't you like it? What was bad?
I got blood work both times, and I got an IV once.
Oh, an IV and some blood work. That can be painful. Did it hurt? Okay. Now, did a nurse or doctor do that?
The nurses.
The nurse, were they real nice to you? So I guess that's part of the problem. If the nicer the personnel are, and the more they make it as much fun as they can for the kids, the better they'd feel about it, right?
Sure. There's also some nice steps to go through with that. That whether it's a physician or a nurse for an adult or a child, that if there's some transition time before the procedures have to be done, just to chat, to talk about life, sort of to orient the child that this is a human being we're dealing with here. Do what you have to do. In fact, with kids, you're better off explaining it to them Many times doctors or nurses will have a doll or something else, and let me show you what I'm going to do. And here, do you want to hold this? And I'll show you this, and you hold this stethoscope while I'm checking this out, and then we'll trade. But lots of things to get the child to relax to the equipment there can be very, very fearful for some of the kids. Go through that, and then when you're done, to back off and take a few seconds to also talk about it again. But sometimes that it can't necessarily be done. If they're in an emergency room and have to rush in and rush out.
And depending on the personality of the doctor, too,
yes,
even.
Another part, yeah.
Some are very warm just generally, and some aren't.
And it has to fit into the adult style, too, and the kid style, and getting that match in there in order to help everybody relax.
Can the kids pick up just, without anything being said, a certain apprehension on the parents' part sometimes?
Oh, I would think. Were your parents scared when you were in the hospital? Were they not? I would think they wouldn't even want to know that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think of parents, obviously, it's a natural reaction for parents to be worried their little boy or little girl's going to go in, and maybe that just might, they might sense
I'm
that.
sure that adds to it.
Is there anything you might want to ask them? Or?
Well, I wanted to ask you, we had some pictures here that they drew.
Okay. Oh, just before the show?
Yeah, this is that right there, that's Melissa.
Who drew that? Melissa, you drew that while you were waiting, huh?
Which one is you in there? You want to point to that?
You can point to that.
Okay, and who's the other person?
That's my roommate.
Your roommate. Your roommate was? A baby. Okay.
A little baby.
There was something else there on the table that was real important.
That was a telephone.
Telephone. And also, what's that little round thing?
It's a bell.
What was the bell for?
Ring.
Ring. Who did it ring?
For the nurse.
And did you use it?
Sometimes.
What did you use it for? Call the nurse, I guess.
Yeah.
She had told me before the show that, of course, Mom and Dad were not allowed to stay with her in the hospital.
Yeah.
Although when Chris was in, Mom stayed with him. And the button says, I just wanted to make sure it worked, to make sure somebody was out there. It's real important to have that link with the outside world. It's interesting that shows up on the picture.
Sure. Did you sleep pretty well when you were there, Melissa? Did you, Chris? Did you sleep pretty well? Good. How was the food?
Good.
Good? Oh, that's good. Okay. Anything, do they have fairly typical reactions for a 5- and 6-year-old?
Oh, I think so. The parts of being fearful and being told that it was okay to be that way, too. I think, Melissa, what was it you said your mom said about crying? Was it okay or not okay? It's okay, but screaming is not.
Oh, okay.
And that's an important thing for parents to help prepare their kids, too. The idea of going in and saying, you have to be a big boy or big girl and not cry, take it like a man, be strong, is not the way kids really work. And I think you're much better off saying, if it hurts, cry.
Oh, sure.
Heck, if it hurts, you go ahead and scream if you want.
Sure, you hear those big football players, sometimes they can't even take shots, Chris. They go...
and they faint right out there. But to let them know that the emotional response is okay, and that's part of it, and to say that it's okay for adults, it's okay for kids. Let them go through what's natural for them. That's part of easing it. Holding it in and stopping them from feeling that isn't going to help at all with the communication, and isn't going to really match what the kids need for their age and development and what's right for them.
Okay. Do you think if either of you, say, Melissa, if you have to go back to the hospital, you'll enjoy it more, you won't be scared this time? Okay, how about you, Chris? You think you'll feel better if you have to go back? Of course, you're in good health now, but say if you had to go back, if you were out playing ball or something and broke your finger or something and had to go to the hospital, would you feel okay about it? That's good. I guess some kids seem to adapt better if they have had illnesses or injuries and young and they've been in the hospital a lot with good treatment. They kind of take it in stride, don't they?
I guess so. I know I've never been in, and I'm not looking forward to if I ever do.
Oh, is that? See, I've been in many times, and even as a young kid, I really enjoyed it. Which is
well, you had some nice
kind of dumb.
There.
Well, really, you know, for broken bones, concussion, broken arm, hernia operation, all these things that you had, and I just kind of got used to it.
Well, that can certainly help if they've had nice positive experiences. I know the kids in our unit who might be coming in for a physical exam, even the idea of sometimes the medical students are still wearing their white jacket. They haven't learned in a pediatric setting you don't wear that. The kids will see it and begin to scream right away. People who've been at it for a while learn that there's ways to approach, and you just try not to tap into that fear. Try and tap in more to the calmness and what the child's needs are. Make it a lot happier for them.
Okay, let me remind everyone the phone number 333-9363 if you have any questions or comments, because as I say, this is Children in Hospitals Week, and if Dr. Murphy can help you in any way to get and you and your children to get through that traumatic experience, he's certainly willing. Melissa, we want to thank you for coming. You got out of school today? That was happy, wasn't it? Okay. And Chris, you got out of kindergarten. You just go in the morning? Okay, well, we thank you for coming. Thanks a lot.
I was off today.
You were off, okay. How'd you get your dad out of work? Did he just take off? Well, that's a good deal. Okay. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Talk more about this.
Nice drive, Frank. You're hot today.
Boy, this is the life, isn't it?
Hey, did you hear about Jimmy?
Hear what?
He's in the hospital.
Hospital? I had supper with him just last week. He was fine.
He went in 2 days ago.
They say he's going to be in a while. Imagine those hospital bills.
Well, the bills are no problem. He's got Medicare.
Hey, Frank, I got news for you. Medicare doesn't do it all.
Right. It pays less than half of the average health care bill. The rest comes out of your pocket.
In fact, Medicare has raised its deductible and co-payments. That's the part you have to pay yourself. Every single year since 1968. The deductible that started at $40 is now over $300. You pay that for 1 day in the hospital.
So, what do you do to protect yourself?
You call the National Senior Citizens Group Insurance Trust. They've got the original Medicare insurance supplement that pays cash direct to you, not the doctor or hospital, unless that's what you want. And it pays regardless of any coverage you have, even Medicare.
And it guarantees to match every Medicare hospital increase dollar for dollar.
And it protects you in and out of the hospital.
Well, we're sold.
Say, Carl, do you have that phone number?
Sure do. Smartest phone call I ever made. And it's toll-free. You'll get a free information kit that explains it all. And it's group coverage, so the rates are reasonable. Best of all, everybody 65 and over qualifies. Everybody. So get protection.
Yeah, then we'll really have the good life.
And I'll have the peace of mind to do that.
Call toll-free 1-800-228-1234. That's 1-800-228-1234. Or write Medicare Supplement, Trevose, PA 19048. Operators are standing by now.
Well, this is Children and Hospitals Week, March 18th through the 24th. Dr. Tim Murphy is with us today, and we're talking about what could be a traumatic visit, taking your children to the hospital. And we have some questions. Doctor, would you stand up, please?
I want to ask you about timing and preparing a young child for the hospital. When would I prepare him? That morning, when we got to the hospital, the night before? When should you really tell them what's going to happen?
Well, that depends somewhat on the child's age. If it's for example, a preschool-age child or a toddler who isn't going to remember very long and going to more or less think about it and build up their fears, I don't think that's the kind of child you want to tell a week or two ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And nor do you want to spring it on any child of any age, you know, while you're driving there and they say, what is this? Says, well, you're going into the hospital to have some surgery, scare the heck out of them then. I think the older the child is, certainly they're going to have some idea that they're going to need to go into the hospital, that some procedures are going to happen, and to allow them time to work that out. A child who is a school-age child or perhaps a preschooler, you can also get some books and things like that to spend a day or two to go over. Fred Rogers has some things on that. He's always got things on his show to talk about that with kids and the experience. So it's not just talking about it and give them how old is the child you're talking about?
I'd say the preschool.
A preschooler.
I'm looking into the future. He's only 9 months now.
Oh, okay. That maybe, you know, think of it in terms of a couple days ahead of time, enough time to give you time to look over a book or two and talk about that experience a little bit. So if he has the initial fears, you can present that, but not so much time that he's going to be worried about it for a long time.
Thank you.
Okay, Patrice and I were talking during the commercial break, Doctor. She said a friend of hers, they took their little boy to the hospital, and when he came home from the hospital, he wouldn't talk to his folks. He was so mad at them. In other words, he felt that they allowed him to be poked and shot and all those things, and he was mad at his folks.
Well, a couple things on that. One, you wonder how much they might have necessarily prepared a child for that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I hear parents even promising their kids, don't worry, I won't let them hurt you. And it's very important
do that.
At any time, no, not to promise what you can't control in that. But to say things like, I'll be there, I'll comfort you if you get hurt and that stuff, or if you hurt, you know, it's okay to cry and things like that, but not necessarily make promises like that. It's also fairly common when kids have been through a particularly stressful reaction to regress, to go back, or to some gains they've made, so to jump back a little bit. So if a child was talking well, and then they say, I'm going to shut up, I'm not going to talk to anybody, that's fairly common. I think that's some time to let them relax and back up there. It's also, if the child is an inpatient in a hospital, so they're spending the night there, a lot of hospitals will have people there, like child life departments or other people like that, who will spend some time working with the child. And if parents are concerned that their child is having a particularly tough time, ask the nurse, ask someone to find out
those people will
who
help.
can spend some time with my child to show me some methods of what to do with this stressful thing. Also, hospitals have pre-admission visits. I know Children's does, and I assume some other ones too. Take them by before. They give them a tour, says, here's some of the equipment, let's take a look at this stuff. The last time, or the time to see everything is not the time when it's about to happen to you.
Yeah, prepare them like you were telling.
Prepare them, yeah.
Okay, let's take a quick call on line 5. You're on Pittsburgh Today, line 5. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, I have a question for Dr. Murphy in regards to the very young child in the area of 17 months.
Okay.
And just a couple of weeks ago, my son had tubes put in. It's a relatively minor procedure, but he's at the age of separating with mom and dad, where it's bothering him. And when they brought him back, which was about a 15-minute operation, they brought him back and he was sobbing. And I feel as though there was something there I should have been able to do, or somehow they should, this was done at Ioneer, by the way. And I did bring it up to them, and they said there's really nothing they can do as far as that goes because it was an outpatient procedure. And they couldn't allow mothers downstairs when they woke up. How do you prepare a 17-month-old for something like this? And also, could we stop saying shots to kids? I think injection sounds better. So many things are on TV about shots and shooting, and I think that could frighten them.
Okay, let's see what he says, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, a couple things, whether you call it shots or injections or whatever, I can understand that if shots and shooting, you envision like a gun. In some ways, a rose by any other name smells as sweet or hurts as much. And using another name may be helpful, especially with kids who associate some particular reaction with the word. That might be a good idea. Second thing is the issue of the child waking up and parents not around and sobbing. Of course, during a time like that, that's a time that a parent has to anticipate their own feelings too. And if the kid is fearful and crying and upset, parents are going to feel guilty, like, I should have done something more. Yeah. If only I had anticipated this, I somehow could have relieved my child of some of this pain too. And within some limits, there are some things you can do, but there's a point that not to sit there and chastise yourself and feel guilty, because then you're going to be all worried and bound up yourself and not.
Especially at 17 months, it's pretty hard to explain a lot.
Yeah, it is. And I think that the only thing you can do is be there when the child's around, comfort them while they're upset, soothe them through it, let them get it out of the system, let them cry it out.
Tell them it's all right now, too, right?
Yeah, and you'll help them. You'll be with them for a while now. With some children, if they're coming out of surgery and the parents aren't allowed in the recovery room too, sometimes it's helpful even to have a small article of some kind, parents around, or say, or here's where I'm going to be, or say, before we go in, this is exactly where I'm going to be, or things like that. And once again, before you're going to the hospital, check with the people before you go in, what kind of things they might provide to help the child through that event. Unfortunately, when the child does come out of the operating room and out of recovery, and everybody's tense, that's not the time to find out. And just hopefully, by saying this, parents can anticipate a little there.
Okay, you told me earlier, and unfortunately we don't have time to do that all, but there are techniques that parents can use to help the children
Some of the
react.
things have to do with imagery that you can use with kids, to think about some of the things that they can do relax. Let's say, for example, a child has a stomach ache. And the child, well, I don't know what a stomach ache is. They have some terrible visions, and our fears are oftentimes worse than the reality. So you say to them things like, well, imagine there's like little men in there with hammers, and we have to think of those men, they're trying to get out, they're going to go out.
So those techniques can be trained and developed.
Yeah, and you're working with kids.
Sorry to give you bad time, but we must move on. Good to see you. Thanks a lot, because it's an important point. You're going to take a quick break, come back, tell you about an event that's coming up.
I ain't exactly what you call a magazine expert, but I know what people buy. These babies sell like nobody's business. I've seen them come, I've seen them go too. This here's a peach of a buy. You got your whole TV shebang right inside. Everything worth watching. And when you're a busy old geezer like me, you don't have time to miss the good stuff.
TV Guide, on sale now wherever magazines are sold.
When we close this box, we've made our best. So when you open this box, you enjoy the best. Hot, fresh pizza delivered to you in 30 minutes or less. Because
Domino's Pizza delivers.
To guarantee furniture the way we do at our Wickes stores, you got to be a little bit crazy or very, very sure of yourself. At Wickes, we're so sure of our low prices that we'll refund the difference if you can find the identical item for less elsewhere within 30 days. We're so committed to your satisfaction that we'll take the furniture back if you're not happy with your selection when you get it home. And we're so sure of our quality that we'll give you a written warranty against defects in manufacturer's workmanship, good for 5 full years. Take this sofa, for example. It's made for us by craftsmen who meet our high-quality standards, with a frame shaped of kiln-dried hardwood, corner-blocked and double-doweled, with cushions of high-density foam wrapped in a downy soft fiber, and all covered in a carefully tailored, long-wearing fabric. You know, I believe if you've got the values the way we do at Wickes, you should tell everybody. But most important, if you've got the quality the way we do at Wickes, you should back it all the way.
There are 8 hit-or-miss stores in the Pittsburgh area. They're going to be presenting their biannual fashion shows at all VIP clubs on Friday, this Friday, March 23rd. The shows begin at 9 p.m. As you know, the VIP clubs are in Hampton, Bridgeville, Baden, and Greensburg. Tickets are available at any hit-or-miss store. Should be really good shows, about 24 or 30 models total.
Okay, and we also want to let you know that this is Daffodil Day today. It's the first flower of spring and the flower of hope, and they are being distributed by the Golden Triangle Association and the American Cancer Society. And it's just a reminder that good works come when we help and get involved, so keep in mind. Tomorrow, too, Jay Leno will be on the show. Hope you have a good day. We'll see you
Tune in.
Bye-bye.
Patrice King Brown's Fashions provided by Saks Fifth Avenue, Mellon Square. And Hairstyle by Philip Pelusi Hairstyling Salon.
Kaufmann's spring sale is bursting with values for bonus days. And all stores open at 9 a.m. Save 40% on Missy's activewear from Janssen. Score 25% savings on men's Catalina tennis wear. Tune in on a $400 Technica 19-inch color TV for just $269. You can also register for a chance to win a 1984 Pontiac Fiero SE during the spring sale, bursting with bonus days values starting Thursday at Kaufmann's.
Coming up tonight at 6 from the Eyewitness News team, your home is damaged by fire from an abandoned building. Who pays the price? Bill Flanagan explores that burning question sparked by a Mount Washington blaze. Wayne Van Dyne discovers that cable TV can be costly in Pittsburgh, especially if you're tuning out. Plus, a helping hand that puts Pittsburgh senior citizens on the defense.
That'll help us a lot. KDKA TV's Eyewitness News team. What a team.